Testing audio, 1, 2, 3, testing audio. Good morning.
Good morning, Lucia. So how are you faring in the heat?
Oh, I'm dying. I'm melting. I think they did a good job. So thank you.
I'm sure we're going to talk.
Good morning. The Los Angeles Board of Harbor Commissioners are now in open session for their regular meeting today, Thursday, August 20th, 2020. Our first item in open session is a roll call. President Lee,
Here.
Vice President Renwick,
Here.
Commissioner Middleton,
Here.
Commissioner Moreno-Linares,
Here.
Commissioner Perosi. The board has confirmed their quorum. President Lee.
Thank you, Amber, and good morning, everyone. Before we get started today, I just wanted to share a bit of news. I regret to inform our community of the passing of Tony Perosi, the father of our fellow commissioner, Anthony Perosi, on August 13th at the age of 82. He was the owner of Tony's TV sales here in San Pedro for the last 43 years. We just wanted the Perosi family and Commissioner Perosi to know that they are in our thoughts and prayers in this difficult time of mourning. And we will be convening our next meeting in memory of Mr. Perosi, but I just wanted to share that news today so that our community is aware. And also there is a memorial that's being held tomorrow, our funeral services at 10 a.m. At Mary Star of the Sea Church. And more information can be found on Facebook regarding that for anyone who's interested. So thank you very much for letting me share that. And I'm going to pass it over now to Gene Soroka for his Executive Director report.
Thank you, President Lee, and we appreciate your comments this morning. We all mourn with our Commissioner Perosi. And again, good morning, Madam President, Commissioners, Harbor Department staff, distinguished guests, and members of the public. I'll begin my remarks this morning with California Governor Gavin Newsom's executive order issued this Sunday, August 16th. Through the order, Governor Newsom urged ports in California to suspend at-berth plug-in operations to provide relief to the state's power grid during this extreme heat event. The order went into effect on Monday, the 17th of August, and will expire at the end of today, Thursday, August 20th, 2020. Every megawatt hour saved is enough to power 750 homes, and it is anticipated that the Port of Los Angeles will save approximately 18 megawatt hours during this time. Moving to operations. The Port of Los Angeles has been open every day since the emergency orders were issued for COVID-19 in the month of March. As traditional now, Port Police Chief Tom Gazy flies a drone over our 7,500 acres of property at least once a week to check out all of our land and connectors with respect to public safety. It also gives us a unique vantage point, and as we can see from the terminal tarmacs, we have plenty of room to grow here at the Port of Los Angeles as the American economy slowly reemerges. We do have areas that we're watching very closely. Chassis, working with the IEPs and so many others to make sure that we have roadable road units out to carry our cargo back and forth to warehouses and customers' areas. Having that maintenance done is of primary importance to us. We're also working with the PHL and the Western railroads to make sure that we have enough rail cars, engine power, and crewing to move the cargo. And we're looking very closely at our ship work. But this community continues to work together here at the confluence of all events at the Port of Los Angeles to make sure that the transit through this facility is as smooth as possible. Much work to do, but we're on it. Today, our operational report shows that we have 11 container vessels in port, 2 are idle. We have 1 auto ship, 1 bulk, and 2 tankers. There are 20 vessels at anchor around the San Pedro Bay, including 1 container ship, 2 cruise vessels getting stores, managing crews, and 3 bulk ships. In addition, we have 14 tankers awaiting instruction to go to Long Beach, Los Angeles, or El Segundo for the Chevron facility. All terminals and gates are open with active gangs working. This past Wednesday, I offered our monthly update on operational performance to the media. And for the month of July, we moved 856,000 plus TEUs, which is about a 6% decline compared to our all-time record for July just last year in 2019. This represents our best month year to date in the year 2020 and is our 7th best month overall. That brings us down to 15% below where we stood last year after the first 7 months of the calendar year. Combined with our neighbor, the San Pedro Bay ports are now down just about 10% year over year and had an uptick of nearly 5% in cargo volume during the month of July in isolation. And just as a reminder to the Commission and our observers, in the first half of this year, we had 63 vessels cancel their sailings that would normally have come to the Port of Los Angeles due to the two punches of the ongoing trade tensions between the United States and China and the shuttering of the American economy due to COVID-19. We've bounced back in Q3 with only 3 estimated canceled sailings, a better balance of supply and demand. And as indicated by the encouraging numbers that we've seen in June and July, we're also looking forward to similar performance in the months of August and September. In our other lines of business, they all continue to be in the negative territory. Only petroleum is not reporting through the month of July. But as I've shared with you in the past, automobiles will probably be down to the level that we saw during the Great Recession, with experts estimating that 12 million passenger cars and trucks will be sold this year in the United States. And that compares to a run rate of about 17.5 million that we had been enjoying over the past several years. Scrap metal and steel have also been hit by the trade tensions, not only with China, but with other countries. Our cruise business, as most know, has been shuttered since the early days of the pandemic. And although there are some signals of reevaluation towards the end of this year, nothing firm just yet. And the fruit season is anticipated to start with our next harvest of crop late November, early December from the west coast of South America. All of this has a tremendous impact on the people that work in and around the port. And we follow our labor statistics on the docks very closely as reported to you on a traditionally regular basis at these meetings. In week 34, which ended on August 14th, the total shift count was more than 43,000 shifts for the ports in San Pedro Bay. Week 34 is down just slightly by 2% over week 33, but nonetheless shows 5 consecutive weeks of 40,000 labor shifts or more. And this only rivals the first time we've seen this since weeks 40 to 44 of last year. So 5 consecutive weeks of more than 40,000 labor shifts on our docks. Encouraging. Year to date, though, we are down 16% compared to week 34 last year. And please remember, there was a lot of choppiness in our industry last year with folks pulling forward inventories before tariff milestones went into place. When we compare this weekly average to the more important 3.5-year run rate, week 34 is up just slightly 1%, which shows taking out these spikes and plateaus in the overall supply chain are starting to even up on a work basis from the shift count. Last Thursday, August 13th, the Port of Los Angeles and the California Manufacturers and Technology Association entered into a memorandum of understanding to help support both organizations' efforts to manage and further streamline the supply and provision of personal protective equipment during the current COVID-19 pandemic. The MOU also calls for greater cooperation between the CMTA and the Port of Los Angeles on promoting the exports of manufactured goods made right here in California by the CMTA members. A big thank you to the CMTA's President, Lance Hastings, Port Deputy Executive Director of Stakeholder Engagement, David Libatique, and Port Director of Labor Relations and Workforce Development, Aveen Sharma, for all their efforts to bring this great partnership about. And lest I also mention Gino DeCaro from the CMTA as well, who really guided this work to the final MOU. I'm also pleased to announce today that the fiscal year ending in 2021, our community investment grants have been awarded. A total of 29 grants were issued for the sum of $1 million from the Harbor Department. There are 3 large grants in their second year of operation, EXP, the Los Angeles Maritime Institute Top Sail Program, and the Boys and Girls Club in Wilmington. There are also 26 new one-year grants associated with our community investment grant program. All grants this year went through an extra level of review with an eye toward the COVID pandemic and how the applicants are able to accommodate factors such as physical distancing, timing of events, the ability to go virtual so that they are in compliance with the current directives and are socially responsible. More information on this year's grant recipients can be found on our website at www.portoflosangeles.org. And a big thank you to our Director of Community Relations, Teresa Adams Lopez, and her team for doing a fantastic job yet again this year in managing the program from start to finish. Today, August 20th, the Los Angeles Harbor Department released a draft initial study negative declaration for the innovative Barracuda Chassis Depot project located at 915 Earl Street on Terminal Island. The existing 7-acre property would be expanded to approximately 13 acres. The document is available also on our website at www.portoflosangeles.org under the Environmental Documents tab. The public comment period for this document will close on Friday, September 18 of 2020. On to the topic of business meetings. Since we last met as board on August 6th, I've participated in numerous meetings with external stakeholders all around port activities and our COVID-19 response. I'll highlight just a few. On Monday afternoon, August 10th, via Zoom, I met with South Coast Air Quality Management District Governing Board Chair, Dr. William Burke, and Wayne Nastry, the Executive Officer. Later that afternoon, I also met with California Air Resources Board member Dean Flores via Zoom. On Monday afternoon, further on August 10th, I met with the California State Treasurer Fiona Ma and Executive Director of California Pollution Control Financing Authority, Nancy Robles. Also with me were Marla Blevins, David Libatique, Chris Cannon, Jennifer Cohen, Eric Martell, and our policy advisor, Nate Solov. Our ideas to talk with the state treasurer were around how we can accelerate zero emissions technology by driving policy, legislation, and financing dollars towards this truck endeavor that we have here at the Twin Ports. On Tuesday morning, August 11th, along with Chief of Public Safety and Emergency Management Tom Gazy, we met with new U.S. Coast Guard Rear Admiral Brian Penoyer, Captain of the Los Angeles Port Rebecca Orr, and Master Chief Shane Hooker to give an overview to the Rear Admiral on the operations here at the port, our technology through the nation's only port community system, the Port Optimizer, and initiatives in Washington to help drive standards for information sharing. Wednesday morning, August 12th, via Zoom, we held the China shipping appeal hearing in City Council that was voted 12-1 in support of certifying the supplemental environmental document for the berths 97 through 109. Later that afternoon, we held a taping with the public broadcasting system to talk a little bit about our environmental stewardship, the work here at the port, and our COVID-19 response. Then back at it early Thursday morning, August 13th, via Zoom, along with Eric Karras and Mike DiBernardo, David Libatique, we spoke with the World Economic Forum and Bruce Weinel. The work around this is to see how the Geneva-based organization can assist the city and Port of Los Angeles in connecting with public and private sector folks around the world. Thursday morning also, we met with Illinois Soybean Association Representative Scott Sigmund in preparation for our upcoming work next week on the 26th with a broader audience from Asia and Europe. Also Thursday morning, we had a virtual press conference organized by Philip Sanfield, talking about our up-to-date July numbers and fielding questions on a myriad of subjects related to the port. Great work by Philip and the team to pull this together on a monthly basis. And then Tuesday afternoon of this week, August 18th, via Google Meet, we also gave an update to the Trade, Travel, and Tourism Committee of City Council, led by Chair and Council 15 Representative Joe Buscaino. Before I conclude my comments for this morning, I'd like to acknowledge the great work of our own David Libatique, Deputy Executive Director of Stakeholder Engagement. He is leading a national policy discussion to bring about legislation that would assist ports and marine terminals to the tune of $3.5 billion during this difficult economic time. We'll keep this board and the public updated on the endeavors here. But again, a great level of thanks to David for his leadership in this area. And Madam President, that concludes my remarks for this morning.
Thank you so much, Jean. Any commissioners have questions for the executive director? Commissioner Middleton.
Some questions, but more than that, absolute 100% vote of confidence, terrific report. I concur and won't repeat all the congratulations you gave, but obviously you have put together a tremendous staff that continue to do great work for all the citizens and the worldwide port community. A couple things that I did want to comment on specifically, though. First, whether the kudos, and I'm sure it all starts at the top. So we have to start with congratulations to you, but whether it's Philip Sanfield, the media team, whoever's doing it, the press conferences are outstanding. I really enjoyed the press conference. More than that, I read the clippings that Mr. Sanfield sends out, and there was great feedback. We're really getting the word out on what's happening in this port. And it's as a result of these very clear reports that you give. And there's lots and lots of commentary. So that's all terrific. What you didn't mention, but which also is worthy of mention because it was excellent. Again, whoever did the video, there was a video on the zero emission top handlers at Everport that now are in daily use. And you were excellent, as was Chris Cannon. It was an overview of the operations. It was how the top handlers function. It's what's the zero emissions going to do. So all of that was great. You did make the point, which I urge everybody to watch this, but also to note these top handlers are pre-commercial. They are not mass manufactured. It is a demonstration project. But again, we applaud these demonstration projects. It's a step forward. And that's what your team is doing. Some of the clippings, and again, a couple things. Well, let's keep talking about what you did mention. The community investment grants. I received, as I'm sure all the commissioners did, a memo from Teresa Adams Lopez. And while it's very impressive that we're continuing those three large groups to the Boys and Girls Club, three large grants, Boys and Girls Club, EXP, and LAMI. Anybody who's interested in where that $1 million is going, the 26 small grants are really significant in their breadth and scope. And if you want to know what the port's doing to support the community, that's a good way to look. Go to the website and read about all those groups. I am looking forward to reports from you and having it agendized in terms of the Barracuda Chassis Depot, because many of the clippings made note. And again, when they quote one person, whether it's that one person, not anybody on our staff, whether it's one person from one organization talking about bottlenecks and the problem with empties and so on. You have advocated for a long time, Jean, for a storage chassis yard. So it'll be good to hear more about what that project is and whether it's in the form of an informational presentation or whether there's something for us to vote on. I'm going to look forward to hearing about that because I think that's another link in this supply chain effort that's going to make things run more smoothly. Likewise, the state treasurer in that meeting in terms of accelerating zero emission, we've known all along that if we're going to reach zero emission, we're going to need to get funding. We're going to need to bring more people to the table. So once again, congratulations for moving forward on that. I join in everything you said about, although you actually didn't say it, so I'll say it. Staff should be tremendously congratulated for the job they did on China shipping. This was very, very important to move our work forward. The fact that the City Council agreed almost unanimously, but for one vote, that it is time to move forward, and they like what we're doing to move forward, is a big leap. So congratulations to the staff. I think we need to acknowledge just outstanding work and how many years it took. I mean, from the first that you came here, I love the way you said, I'm going to own this and I'm going to fix it. And you made that very clear. And I think that's a considerable reason why it passed. Finally, two last quick things. The clean truck rate. I shared your disappointment about how that whole thing developed. We would have hoped there would have been more cooperation, but it appears that the Port of Los Angeles is also going to defer implementation given everything with COVID. And finally, agriculture. You mentioned, and I'm always astonished when there are just outright, I want to be uncharacteristically delicate and not use a harsh word like lies. But your report was very clear that China is buying less than 1/3 of the agricultural goods they promised. In the clipping articles, they pointed out that the president just was very, very happy that China is giving us the largest orders ever, and it's just going to really help our Midwest farmers. Doesn't seem like that's being proven in terms of cargo coming through this port. But you've made it clear agricultural exports are down by 2/3. So those are a couple other things I wanted to note. Again, fabulous job. Keep it up. And I certainly support you all the way. Thank you.
Commissioner, thank you for all those comments and insight. Couple things real quick. On your last point with respect to the phase one trade deal with China, I maintain some very deep relationships in China after having lived and worked there. And I have a particular affinity for the work that we do in the agriculture sector here at the Port of Los Angeles. I will be participating in the Soy and Global Trade Exchange Specialty Grains Conference next week, both with Asia early in the morning, or with Europe early in the morning, and with Asia late at night, in addition to some pre-taped commentary I've offered the organizers. At this time, if you open up the phase one trade deal, it specifically calls out aspirational dollar values of American agricultural exports that China has committed to purchase at certain price points, many of which the American farmer will struggle with selling in exchange. So while there's a lot of rhetoric that continues to go on about whether China is doing this or that, whether the phase one trade deal is supportive in a bilateral matter, it is not generally supportive of the American agriculture community and the American farmer. So we're going to continue to stay close by offering everything we can to help restart the American farmers' exports. And please remember, we are discarding of dairy products. We are culling livestock. And our vegetation is literally dying on the vine because we're not exporting to those customers overseas that the American farmer has had decades worth of relationships. So there's much more work to do here policy-wise, but from an operational standpoint, we are going to make every effort possible economically to push more and more export, both here in the state of California as the heartland of the country through this port. I want to make something very clear, if I may, on the clean truck rate. We are not leaning one way or any way in any recommendation just yet to this Board of Harbor Commissioners. I had said last week in my press conference I was disappointed that the Port of Long Beach unilaterally put out a press release. The cap predating me has always been a collaboration between the twin ports here in the San Pedro Bay. There is so much uncertainty economically, trade headwinds, and so much other work that we're trying to do on the ground with regulators here in the state of California. It's far too early to make any type of determinations. We will be working closely with the beneficial cargo owner community, the original equipment manufacturers, and we have workshops and an OEM summit outlined for the month of September that we've talked about previously here. But unilateral statements, unfortunately, have gone out. We have not made any predeterminations without first consulting with this Board of Harbor Commissioners.
Very good.
More
Thank
to come
you.
on this topic.
Okay. Thank you. Nothing more.
Thanks.
Thank you, Commissioner Middleton. Any other questions? Commissioner
I
Moreno
just-
Linares.
Thank you. I had one question with regards to the governor's order. And so that changes the way ships do their business here. What, if any, effect is that going to have on our air quality? And will it take into account the fact that it's not us ignoring something, but that we're following orders?
Yeah, number one, Commissioner, we are following direct orders. And with conference calls that started with the governor's office on Saturday night, attended by David Libatique and Chief Gazy, and then throughout the day Sunday, including folks like Tim Clark and Tony Gioiello, Mike DiBernardo, and so many others, this was a directive from the governor of California to help save our hospitals, our adult care facilities, our schools that were about to open up, including LAUSD day before yesterday, to make sure we had enough electricity. We had one private sector company tell the group on Saturday night that they could no longer produce oxygen that was to go to hospitals for ventilators treating COVID-19 patients. So that while this was a very difficult decision by Governor Newsom, it was necessary. And to date, just to put this all in perspective, as the alternative marine power concept of cold ironing and shore plug-in was designed and developed, invented here at the Port of Los Angeles, and by no coincidence at China Shipping. Our own Eric Karras led a worldwide conversation on creating that standard. Right now, we have had 4 ships this week that will not plug in. Year to date, because of the trade tensions and COVID-19, we have had 122 less ships call the Port of Los Angeles from a cargo side, and 34 fewer ships, from the cruise side not call at the Port of Los Angeles. This will not set us back. And although every pound of emissions that goes in the air is a detriment to our community and the folks who live and work here, this was something that could not be avoided. We must take care of our people first, but the overall emissions that will move out because of this executive order are a very, very infinitesimal percentage of the overall emissions at this port. And we've done enough year to date, Commissioner, to avoid emissions that I think really here that decision was weighed based on the facts. But a great question. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Hearing no others, thank you so much, Jean. Amber, back to you.
Thank you.
The board office has not received comments from the public on non-agenda items, nor reports from the neighborhood council representatives for items C and D. Moving on to E, reports of the commissioners.
Thank you. Commissioner Middleton.
On 12th, I attended by Zoom the city council meeting on the China Shipping SCIR. Various dates, I had texts and phone calls with Mike Lansing from the Harbor Boys and Girls Club. Nothing more. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Moreno Linares.
August 12th, I also attended the city council hearing on the SEIR.
Thank you. Vice President Renwick.
Hi. On August 11th, I had a conversation with our auditors. As chairman of the audit committee, I spent a lot of time interacting with the auditors. I was interacting with auditors. And auditors, by the way, are fun people, so you guys are missing out. On August 12th, I Zoomed into the city council meeting, and on August 19th, yesterday, I was on a Zoom panel for the LA Chamber of Commerce. Thanks.
Thank you. On August 12th, I also attended the city council meeting for the China Shipping SCIR. Amber.
Item.
Can I
Oh,
just
sorry,
can I
Jana.
just add? Can I interrupt for just 1 minute? I just want to point out that although 4 commissioners, actually 5 commissioners, did attend by Zoom to the China Shipping hearing, they did not have speaking parts. They could not communicate with each other, and it was not a violation of the Brown Act. They were independently calling in. I just want to make sure that that's very clear for everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Jana.
For item F, there are no board committee reports to report at today's meeting. Item G, approval of the minutes for the regular meeting of August 6, 2020.
Did everybody have a chance to review?
Move to approve.
Second.
Middleton, Moreno, Linares. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? That motion carries. Thank you.
We have a roll call vote, President Lee.
Oh, sorry.
President Lee?
I'm last.
Okay, Commissioner Moreno Linares,
Yes.
Commissioner Middleton,
Yes.
Vice President Renwick,
Yes.
President Lee.
Yes.
Thank you. There are no presentations for today's agenda, and item H, item I is a level 1 coastal development permit. Our executive director has approved one CDP number 20-04 for Chevron Pipeline Company for the pipeline removal and abandonment near Channel Street. This item is just for the record at this time. However, now that it's been read to the record, do any of the commissioners request for this item to be agendized at any future agenda?
No.
Hearing none, we'll move on to open session items. Item J are board reports of the executive director. Consent items 1, 2, 4. Are there any questions?
Please hold out item 4.
Noted. Item 1 is a resolution for the First Amendment to Agreement Number 18-3562 between the City of Los Angeles Harbor Department and Daily Wells Communication, Inc. for Port Police Harris Radio System support. Item number 2 is a resolution for Third Amendment to Agreement Number 13-3109 between the City of Los Angeles Harbor Department and Brown and Winters. And item 3 is a resolution for the approval of a Third Amendment to Foreign Trade Zone Developer Agreement Number 2401 between the City of Los Angeles Harbor Department and 11850 Riverside LLC, FTZ 202 Site 20.
Thank you. May I please have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Middleton, Moreno, Linares.
Roll call vote. Commissioner Moreno Linares,
Yes.
Commissioner Middleton,
Yes.
Vice President Renwick,
Yes.
President Lee.
Yes.
Moving on to item number 4. Item number 4 is a resolution for the approval of a joint revocable permit number 20-12 among Crimson California Pipeline LP, City of Los Angeles Harbor Department, and the Port of Long Beach as joint owners.
Commissioner Middleton, your questions? Oh, sorry, Mike, did you want to?
Go ahead, Commissioner Middleton. You had some questions?
The resolution is very clear. Page 2, I had a background question. I'm particularly interested in any question of movement of oil and pipelines. And on 2, it says in December of 2010, there was a release from a Crimson pipeline. As you read on, it's clear that that is a word that means a spill. It was 10 years ago. And I was just wondering, are there after effects? I understand that this resolution is about seeing whether or not oil is present in the drain. But how extensive was the spill? Tell me a little more about the spill. And again, not a lot of details. I just want to know how extensive it was.
So a little history on this. It happened in December of 2010, and there was torrential rains, and then oil was observed in the Dominguez Channel back in 2010. So it was traced back to this particular pipeline belonging to Crimson. So there was a settlement in regards to this. The pipeline has been removed, or that section has been removed. And the cause of the leak was a puncture by some construction work that was being done nearby. So there was a puncture was believed to be a puncture into the pipe. So again, the pipe has been removed, but as part of the settlement, Crimson has to go out there periodically to do testing to see if there's any further contamination around that area.
Thank you. No other questions.
Thank you.
Thank you. If there are no other questions from the commissioners, may I have a motion and a second to approve this item?
Motion to approve?
Second.
Moreno, Linares, Middleton.
Our roll call vote. Commissioner Moreno Linares,
Yes.
Commissioner Middleton,
Yes.
Vice President Renwick,
Yes.
President Lee.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The item is approved. Moving on to our next item, number 5. Item 5 is a resolution for the award and approval of construction contractor Sully Miller Contracting Company for the Wilmington Waterfront Promenade and building demolition, specification number 2780.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm Masa Pan. I'm a Senior Construction Manager in the Harbor Department Construction Division, and I'm excited to be presenting on the Wilmington Waterfront Promenade. We're recommending award of the Wilmington Waterfront Promenade and Building Demolition Project to Sully Miller Contracting Company. This project is part of the overall waterfront development program, which began with a 30-acre park along Harry Bridges Boulevard. This project will construct a 9-acre waterfront park next to Banning's Landing, along with an outlook pier, floating dock, playground, restrooms, parking lots, and realigning Water Street. The contract amount is $51,900,020 with a contract duration of 840 calendar days. We received 5 bids online on June 18th through the Construction Division Business Opportunity Network, which has been essential during the pandemic to continue our bidding projects without delay through electronic submission of bids. We received a bid protest from Granite, the second lowest bidder, and their subcontractor Trustworks, stating that Sully Miller's listed subcontractor, the Steel Erection Company, is not listed on the Los Angeles Building and Safety Approved Metal Fabricator list. Sully Miller responded indicating that their subcontractor will use their affiliate company, S&P Fabrication Services, as its metal fabricator. Harbor Department staff verified that S&P is listed on the Los Angeles Building and Safety Approved Metal Fabricator list and satisfies contract requirements, and we responded accordingly to Granite and Trustworks. Granite submitted a second bid protest letter claiming that the Steel Erection Company is not a very small business enterprise due to its affiliation with S&P Fabrication Services. After receiving the protest, Harbor Department staff contacted the City of Los Angeles Bureau of Contract Compliance, which administers LA Bobbin, as well as the State of California, which performed a certification compliance review for both companies and certified that both the Steel Erection Company and S&P Fabrication Services are very small businesses. Harbor Department staff concluded our bid evaluation and in consultation with the city attorney found that Sully Miller is the lowest responsive and responsible bidder and recommend award of the contract to Sully Miller Contracting Company. The project is subject to provisions of the project labor agreement approved by the Board of Harbor Commissioners and City Council. And this concludes my brief presentation. If there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you, Masa. Great job. Commissioner Middleton, do you have a question?
If anybody else does, I'm happy to wait.
Go ahead.
Okay. Great presentation, Ms. Pon, and very well written as well. I have 2 general areas of questioning. The first is the scope of work, okay? Your presentation set forth very clearly what has to be done, and it's also on page 2 of 6. Question, what is left to do on the Avalon Promenade? And I guess we're now calling it the Wilmington Waterfront Program. Is that correct? Okay.
Yes.
What is left to do? Because it sounds like this contract is for everything. So are we to assume that Sully Miller is going to start and finish the project?
Thank you for asking that question. So this is actually going to be the park and the waterfront portion of the work. So after this project is concluded, there's going to be a follow-up project, the Avalon Promenade and Gateway project, which will come later next year, which constructs the bridge and connects this waterfront to the waterfront park along Harry Bridges Boulevard.
Okay. And you said that it's 840 days, which of course is a little more than 2 years. I know that the community is very interested in when is it going to start and when is it going to end? So could you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. We anticipate starting in a couple months. So once everything is in order, we have all of our contracts ready to go. And so in 2.5 years, so that puts us in about 2023.
Okay.
For the conclusion, yes.
Okay, the second set of questions has to do with the protests. Again, thank you to the staff for attaching all the necessary documents. I read all the attachments in terms of the protests and what they were saying. And I want to make sure that I understand what's happening. First of all, with reference to Sully Miller, they are going to pay prevailing wage. It will be subject to the project labor agreement. And it seems that the gist of the protests are around Sully Miller using a sub called the Steel Erection Company, also called TSEC, and they have a sub called S&P Fabrication that's going to do the metal fabricating work. Am I good so far?
Yes, correct.
Okay. And it also looks like the basis of the protests is not anything having to do with prevailing wage, the project labor agreement, any of that. It appears that the questions are whether or not Sully Miller is using subcontract metal fabricators that are approved by the LA Department of Building and Safety, and also whether or not they meet the VSBE or SBE requirements, or whether they're really OBEs. And I was able to figure out that that's simply the other business entities. Now, as I read this, and I think I understand what staff's saying, it sounds like Granite's making inconsistent arguments, that on the one hand, they're saying TSEC is not LADBS certified, and it doesn't matter if S&P is. But on the other hand, they're saying that they're not going to look at S&P for the VSBE requirement. So they're trying to make these two arguments that I think if you agree with argument one, you reject argument two. I mean, I didn't see any basis to the protest, and therefore, depending on your answer, I'm pretty sure I'm going to vote in support of the award to Sully Miller. But could you just comment on that a little in terms of the nature of these protests?
Yes. So the first protest that Granite submitted was in regards to, as you mentioned, the Steel Erection Company not being listed on the Building and Safety Metal Fabricator Approved list. They were not aware that that work would be used or constructed by S&P Fabrication Services. So once we made that clear, that issue is cleared up, that S&P is actually listed on the Building and Safety Approved Metal Fabricator list. So that bid protest was addressed. And the second bid protest came in when Granite found out that S&P Fabrication Services and the Steel Erection Company are affiliate companies. So they were questioning whether together their combined income would qualify them as a very small business enterprise. And we contacted the state and verified that together and separately, both companies are considered very small business enterprises.
Okay, so staff believes that both require, and I also understand that there was some issue about whether or not S&P had two different websites, and that's why it wasn't clear they were LA, what are the initials? LADBS certified, but in fact they are. So you're saying that once the first protest was shown to be invalid, they filed a second, but that you checked with statewide authorities and staff did apply the criteria correctly, and they do meet the VSBE. Okay,
correct.
Thank you. No other questions.
Vice President Renwick, and then Lucy, I'll let you wrap it up.
Thank you, Commissioner Milton. Those were great questions, and largely along the lines I wanted to ask. I did want to ask about bidding processes. So you guys, generally speaking, run a great bidding process system. It is super important that do you think? Did you learn anything about ways that we can improve our bidding process to streamline it and to avoid any of these protests? Did you learn anything that we could do to improve the process, or is this just inevitable on a big contract?
So I mentioned earlier, we've been fortunate to have the online bidding system, which without that CD bond, we call it Construction Division Business Opportunity Network, we wouldn't be able to open bids currently due to the restrictions with gatherings. So it's been very essential during this time. We've opened a few bids since we've been using the online bidding system. So that's been very helpful. Specifically to the bid protests that we received regarding very small business and metal fabricator listing on the building and safety website. I'm not sure that our online bidding system would be able to address those. So I would say once we receive the bid protests, as we've been doing, we look into them and address them as received.
Okay, thank you.
As a follow-up to that, so for everybody who is registered on the LA Bobbin website, do they already have to be pre-qualified, or can anyone just sign up to look at the opportunities and bid on, and then the companies are vetted afterwards?
Yes, great question. So LA Bobbin requires certifications. So once we open bids, we go on LA Bobbin to verify the certifications for small business and very small business. So in the case where we require on this project 17% small business and 5% very small business, we verify the amounts received for the subcontractors and suppliers and make sure on LA Bobbin that they are listed as small business and very small business. So there is a vetting process once the subcontractors and contractors are listed on LA Bobbin. They either meet the small businesses requirements of the federal government, or they meet the statewide very small business, micro business definitions.
Thank you. Commissioner Moreno-Linares.
I don't have any questions after what has been asked. I just like to say that I'm so happy for our community. Masa, I want to pronounce your name correctly. I just want to say thank you for your presentation. We saw Ugo earlier, and Dina, and everybody who's worked it, especially in the times that we're living. I'm just so glad that we're actually moving forward, taking advantage of technology to not slow everything down. And I think I know that all of those months that are projected seems like a long time, but once we see the digging beginning to happen, I think it'll just make it that much more real. So thank you on behalf of the Wilmington community for making this project happen.
Thank you all so much, and we couldn't be more excited. We've been talking about this project for a really long time, and 2.5 years still seems far away, but I think before we know it, Lucia, you'll be cutting the ribbon on that park, so we're looking forward to it.
Yeah, we really shouldn't lose sight of the fact of what a big day this is. I've been on this board now for 7 years, and for 7 years, we've been pushing to get this forward, and for 10 years before that. So this is a big deal.
Thanks, Ed. With that, would you like to make a motion? Yes.
I move
sorry.
to approve.
Madam
Thank you.
President,
I accept your motion, Commissioner Moreno-Linares, and I'd like to go to Jean to make any comments.
Yeah, thanks. Just one thing. It's my privilege to introduce the Wilmington Waterfront Project Manager, and someone that demonstrates every day what's good about the Port of Los Angeles, Wilmington's own Hugo Cisneros, to just cap off this great tribute to all the work that everyone has done, from community members to elected officials, our own council member, Joe Buscaino, who championed this cause along with the Harbor Commission and staff. Hugo, congratulations on this historic day.
Thank you, Gene. I appreciate it. Thank you for the very nice, kind words. Good morning, Madam President, Commissioners. Again, I'm Hugo Cisneros, Civil Engineer with the Engineering Division and Project Manager for the Wilmington Waterfront Promenade. I want to start off by thanking you, the Commissioners, for supporting the LA Waterfront, especially you, Commissioner Moreno-Linares, for your dedicated and long-lasting support of the Wilmington Waterfront, going back well over 15 years. I would like to thank the community and the stakeholders for their patience, their time, their effort, and for collaborating with the Port to develop this vision for the Wilmington Waterfront, and for their support in executing the plan to provide this much anticipated public project. I want to thank Councilman Buscaino, along with his staff at CD15, for being a champion for this project and for his support, which is much appreciated. I want to thank our partners at DWP. Together, we worked to secure a vital piece of DWP real estate that was needed for the Wilmington waterfront. And of course, I want to thank and recognize our design team, our consultant team led by the firm Sasaki Associates and their project manager, Zach Crisco, and their team made up of Moffitt and Nickel, Earth Mechanics, Studio MLA, Sean O'Connor Lighting, Pac Rim Engineering, Integrated Engineering Management, Methane Specialist, P2S Engineering, and Litchfield Engineers. And of course, I would like to thank our POLA design team. I want to thank them for their flexibility, for their adaptability. They showed great team effort, and they demonstrated this throughout the course of the entire design project. I also want to thank Dina Arianzalian and Dave Walsh for their support and leadership of the design efforts. Lastly, I want to thank Community Relations, Real Estate, City Attorney, Environment Management, Port Police, Construction Division, and CNM for their support and collaboration throughout this design process. I'm very excited that we have reached this milestone in revitalizing this most historic part of the Wilmington waterfront. We have overcome many challenges, and I'm sure we'll face many more during construction, but I have the utmost confidence in our team that we will deliver a world-class waterfront. We're looking forward to breaking ground, and I look forward to working with the construction division and Sully Miller as we move into the construction phase. So once again, thank you everyone who's been involved in the project, and we're very excited to see this transformation.
Thank you so much, Hugo. Congratulations. Very well said. Thank you. I have a motion from Commissioner Moreno Linares. Do I have a second?
All right, take care.
Second.
Second from Commissioner Middleton. Amber.
Roll call vote, Commissioner Moreno Linares,
Yes.
Commissioner Middleton,
Yes.
Vice President Renwick,
With tremendous excitement, I say yes.
President Lee.
Ditto. Yes.
The item is approved.
Thank you.
Moving on to our last item in the open session agenda is number 6, is a resolution for authorizing City of Los Angeles Office of Finance to invest up to $75 million of Harbor Department monies in the State of California Local Agency Investment Fund. And I believe Sohaila Sajadian is here to discuss.
Yes, good morning, President Lee, Commissioners. This item is to authorize the City Treasurer to invest up to $75 million of harbor funds in California State Treasurer's Local Agency Investment Fund, also known as LAIF. LAIF is a permitted investment according to the city's investment policy and currently offers a higher yield than the city's general pool. LAIF invests in high-quality fixed income securities and is viewed as minimal credit risk. At June 30th, 2020, there were over 2,300 California government agencies participating in LAIF with a total asset value of over $32 billion. As I understand it correctly, City Council approved the city's investment in LAIF for $75 million on August 18th. Also, Department of Water and Power, their board is to approve it on August 25th, next Tuesday. And for LAWA, they're planning to take it to their board sometimes in September. And if there are any questions, I would be happy to answer them.
Any
So,
questions?
a couple for me.
Go ahead.
So, in general, I love the idea of making 1.2% as opposed to 25 basis points or whatever else we were getting. So, one, great job. Generally, more is better than less when it comes to money. But you said that we're not incurring any additional, or at least there's no significant risk. I'm trying to understand, there has to be a difference in the portfolio mix in order to achieve higher results. And so we're very confident that we are not buying, this fund is not at all invested in anything even remotely exotic. I just remember before the last crash, a number of companies had invested in these products that were just as good as cash and risk-free, and they turned out to be very risky and not as good as cash. So I just wanted to make sure that we've gone through this in ensured that their portfolio is super boring.
I'll jump in here. Commissioner Renwick, the LAIF fund is invested by the state treasurer, and all of the investees, if you will, are local agencies within the state of California. And we are all restricted in terms of what we can invest in by the state government code, as well as local agencies have their own restrictions as well. So they are not, these are not exotic investment instruments by any stretch of the imagination. These are all conservative, fixed income investments.
So is the thing that they're basically just buying longer tailed?
Yes.
So they're buying, instead of 30-year notes, treasuries instead of, I don't know, 2-year treasuries.
If I also could add that the yield at the time of when the board report was being prepared was at 1.21. But when I checked with City Treasury last week, it's now about 80 basis points. So it's come down. So as the instruments within the fund mature, as they buy new instruments, as they get replaced with new instruments, the yield is decreasing because of the lower interest rates. So now it's about 80 basis points, which is still higher than general pools rate.
Yeah, no. As long as if all we're doing is buying longer tailed instruments on money that we don't think we're going to be using in the next 2 or 3 years, then it makes sense.
Yes, that is the case, Commissioner.
Okay, I'll shut up. Thank you. Excellent idea. More is better than less. Good job.
Any other questions? Hearing none, may I please have a motion and a second to approve?
I move.
Renwick.
Second.
Second, Moreno Linares.
Thank you. Roll call vote. Commissioner Moreno Linares,
Yes.
Commissioner Middleton,
Yes.
Vice President Renwick,
Yes.
President Lee.
Yes.
Thank you. The item is approved. That concludes open session for today's agenda. Jana?
Yes, we will now move into closed session where we will discuss the items listed on the posted agenda. As a reminder, items 2 and 3, we have one recusal, Vice President Renwick, and item 6, we have one recusal, President Lee. So they will not participate in those discussions. We will report out any action taken according to law. Thank you.
Exactly.
It's like, come on.
Audio is on though.
It's okay. Bye.
Okay, we will report out of closed session. Item number 1 on the posted agenda was pulled and not discussed. Items 2 and 3, we had our Vice President, Ed Renwick, is recused and did not participate. And then item 6, our President Lee, is recused and did not participate. On item number 7, one of the items, we did take a final act of extending a tolling agreement, and no other reports to be made. Thank you.
Thank you, Jana. I'm pleased to adjourn this meeting at 11:39 a.m. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.